What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about if Call of Duty 2020 will fail. Now, this kind of comes right off the heels, obviously, of Call of Duty Modern Warfare that just released under a week ago. And there's been a lot that has happened about this game. We talked about it a little bit, kind of taking more of the game side on Friday's video or Saturday's video, one of those 2 days. Talked about Kotaku, a lot of gaming journalists, a lot of those verified blue check marks, still crying, still sitting in their bedrooms. And I still stand by that statement. And I think that, the way or the reasoning of what they're writing and what they're mad at really is kind of a joke for the most part. Is there some things? Yes. And I kind of took the game side, but for this video, I want to look at the reverse. And I even mentioned in that video that there are like verifiable problems with Call of Duty Modern Warfare, okay? And it's okay to point it out. You see Metacritic, it's definitely pointed out. Call of Duty is getting review bombed very, very badly. It's getting some of the worst scores ever for any Call of Duty game. Now, normally for Call of Duty games, really for any EA game, for a handful of Ubisoft games, for Call of Duty in general as well, a lot of the more popular games like that, you'll see kind of a review bombing one way or the other, mostly all negative. But this is pretty darn bad, and especially the Steam reviews, which are kind of blocked unless you play the actual game, which is why I actually like Steam reviews as well. You actually have to purchase the game, you actually have to play the game in order to leave the review on it. And I talked about this again in that video, there are people that actually have problems with this game, and this game is deeply flawed. It's made some mistakes in terms of like historical accuracy. It's upsetting a lot of Russian gamers, a lot of Russian people just in general, portraying them as basically all negative, no good, and Americans all good, which, yeah, it's tough when you're making a story. The point, however, that they could have done better in Infinity Ward is that they could have actually told an original story instead of kind of copying and pasting something they found online, or like a story that actually did happen and then kind of reworking a couple things, but they also kind of messed it up. It's a big mess. It for sure is a big mess. And what this has kind of led to again is, and this isn't good news. That's the general point. This is not good news for Call of Duty because we've talked about in the past. Look at 2020. Look at next year. This is when Treyarch is going to only have 2 years, less than 3 like they normally do, to make their new game. Because remember, the entire way that Activision does the Call of Duty games, they've completely revamped it or like completely changed it, taking duties away from Raven Studios and Sledgehammer. So now it's back on Treyarch to make next year's game. Those two studios are going to help them, and even the things that they had created already are going to be morphed into their single-player campaign. It should be around the Cold War in Vietnam. So it's, there were the rumors that like maybe next year, maybe 2020 Call of Duty is going to be just that free-to-play, battle royale thing. It's not going to be that, but with all of the mistakes that this game has made. And look, I actually take the game's side for a lot of these things. When the game was being previewed, when the game was going around, and all the press, again, were crying and sitting in the corners just like rocking back and forth, I supported the game because, firstly, I love to see that, but secondly, I just supported what the game was doing. I liked the idea of it being very, again, like modern, but showing the actual, like, what happens in warfare, what truly happens, and kind of being unapologetic about it. And I really love that. So I took the game side. But with that, you lost basically 95% of journalists, okay? They've all turned against you, and that's what we saw. Gaming journalists had 100%, almost, literally all of them had turned against Call of Duty. So now it's just the fans, and obviously a couple mistakes or a couple great things, and the ship can rock one way or the other on the fans. But again, like I was saying earlier, the negative thing is they've also kind of upset fans. I mean, I'm not saying people aren't enjoying this. I'm not saying people aren't loving this. I'm not saying that this game isn't selling well. All of those things are happening. Some of those things are happening very high in terms of like selling. But people, obviously one person could have a different opinion than the others, but at least from the reviews online, and you can't always go by that, but people are generally displeased with this game, almost as much, if not as much, as Battlefield last year. And that's not a game you want to compare yourself to, right? That is definitely a game you want to stay far, far away from. And Call of Duty is in that same kind of range for different reasons, although they also are having those microtransactions problems where what you spin the wheel, you can pay hundreds of dollars for cosmetics. So they're having paying stuff in this game, really, really predatory paying stuff. So you have that as well. So you really have like all the factions of a game that isn't looking great for the future. You've upset all the gaming journalists, a decision that I support, but still it's something that happened. You've upset a lot of the fans because, I guess not statistically, because we don't know every single person of the, say, 20 million people that bought this game. We don't know every one of their opinions on it, but at least from the internet, what we can gather is a lot of people, the majority of the people, at least online, are upset about this game in one way or the other, whether or not, again, they're crying about it or whether they're actually saying, hey, look, there's actual problems. We want this to change going forward, and that is being said, so I don't want to say that that's not being said. Those are all things that are happening. You have the microtransaction crowd in there, so you're going after people that you could maybe get some extra money from. That's not a good thing. That's going to look bad on you, just like it does basically for any game that tries to throw that in there. So you have all of those things, and then also, again, earlier this year, we had word that the 2020 version could be a mess. Now, it doesn't have to be a mess. It could actually, work out and be completely fine, but I'm not going to say it's very likely, but it's definitely possible that the next game comes out and it's just very, very flawed. I mean, this was a game that had the kind of a system that Activision, again, like we said, they had the 3-year cycle that Activision uses to make their games. This had it, and this still had a lot of problems with it. Next year, they're basically got to cut a year off of that cycle, and yeah, you could work them overtime, you could do stuff like that, and I'm sure they will. I'm sure they do it anyway, and that's totally fine. That's just the gaming industry. That's what you sign up for when you do it, is you're going to be working a lot of hours. Still, losing a year off of it, or maybe even losing more, and then to turn around and then having to make another game in a few years, because then it would be Treyarch's turn again, that could lead to some problems. So, like, this game, I think fundamentally, it's solid. The things that are the worst part of this game, quote unquote, are the depictions of the real world, warfare, which is just kind of a thematic approach that they took. Themes can be swapped out. The game's mechanics would be the same. So you have something like that. That's fine. That's something that gets, again, like interchanged. You have the microtransaction. That's thrown in. You have, again, the story elements that they kind of botched over. That can be fixed. That can be reworked. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. So, like, things like that. Things like that aren't the worst things in the world. They're mistakes, some of them. They're mistakes. They could hurt your game. They could help your game, whatever. But for next year's game, there could be fundamental problems. I mean, you could have things that just don't work in the game. You could have just issues in general. You could have a story that just totally, not even as, like, again, botched, or like it didn't come together the way they wanted, or they kind of just didn't do the proper research. But more like the next one could be like, maybe they just flat out ran out of time, or maybe the multiplayer isn't as fluid and as filled as it normally is because they literally ran out of time to do it. And these are big games. These are the biggest games, really, that come out. Besides GTA and any, like, the Rockstar games, stuff like that. I mean, Call of Duties are massive things when they come out every single year, so you don't really want that happening to your game. So I'm a little worried about it. This was a Call of Duty game that I was looking forward to. It's still a game that I kind of want, that I would look to maybe getting super discounted later on. I think that's just generally where I'm at with it. The negative stuff does kind of, like, tell me, like, yeah, I guess I was okay to not jump in super, super fast. Really, this and even the Outer Worlds, neither of them jumped out as much as I thought they would. I really thought gamers would like Call of Duty again, and that's just the thing, is sometimes they make mistakes. The Outer Worlds, same thing. It's had some problems. So far, we're not on the greatest track for this late November or October period. We had those two and Medieval, which was a solid game from everything I've heard about it. But we're ready to get into November, so maybe we'll get some games that can turn things around with Death Stranding and Star Wars and Pokemon and stuff like that. But guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think about Call of Duty 2020? Do you think it's going to be in trouble? Because all these things are probably going to come back to haunt the next game. It's not really going to hurt Modern Warfare, but it could very well hurt the next Call of Duty game. But let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now, and hit that bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. Again, we're giving away the game on the channel, so if you guys are interested in that, or if you know somebody who wants the game, make sure you direct them to our channel for that. Free giveaway ends in around a week, but all the things that you need to know about the giveaway are in that giveaway video. Find it on the channel, and you'll be good to go. Okay, so thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video.